My name is Rachel, 36, single mom. Christmas Eve, my parents' living room. I watched my son hover near the dessert table. My mom picked up the last slice of pie, looked straight at him. "Only family gets to eat," she laughed. My sister's kids giggled, plates already loaded with seconds. Everyone went back to talking, like my child hadn't just been told he didn't belong. My son swallowed, forced a smile, whispered he wasn't hungry. I saw his eyes shine. Something snapped. I didn't shout, just walked over, told him to grab his coat. Mom called after us. "Where are you going?" "We have everything we need at home." I closed the door. Next morning, 33 missed calls, panicked voicemail about lawyers and sealing everything. When I finally answered, all I said was, "We're not family." If you've ever watched someone swing the word family like a weapon, stay with me. That slice of pie? Just the beginning of how my parents lost their money, their image, and both their children. That night, I drove home in tight, angry silence. My son stared out the window. His name is Ethan. He's 9. Kept tracing circles in the fog on the glass, trying not to cry. When we walked into our Denver townhouse, I hung up coats, forced my voice to sound normal. "We're making our own dessert." I warmed milk, stirred in cocoa, handed him a mug. He curled up on the couch. I put on a Christmas movie, the kind where everyone forgives each other in the last 5 minutes. Halfway through, Ethan said, "Mom, did I do something wrong?" I paused the movie, sat next to him. "No, you did everything right. What your grandmother said was wrong, not you." He stared at his mug. "She said only family gets dessert. Are we not family?" My chest hurt. We are. And one day you'll understand. Sharing a last name doesn't give anyone the right to decide who matters. For now, I just need you to know, none of this is your fault. He nodded, but I saw the way he tucked the hurt away, the way kids do when they realize adults aren't going to fix it. When he fell asleep on the couch, I carried him to bed, then just sat in the hallway, in the dark. I'd spent years swallowing moments like this when they were aimed at me. Watching them humiliate my kid flipped a switch. Next morning, my alarm went off at 7. For a few seconds, I forgot about the party. Then I grabbed my phone. 33 missed calls from Mom, 1 new voicemail. I made coffee, hit play. Her voice. "Rachel, you need to call back. They're sealing everything. The lawyer says if we don't move fast, we could lose the house and retirement. You can't ignore this. You're part of this family whether you like it or not." Not a single word about Ethan, about dessert, about telling my son to his face he wasn't family, just pure panic. About money, assets. I stood barefoot on cold tile, thought about how many times my parents had dressed control up as concern. After my divorce, Dad once suggested putting his name on my deed, just to help with the mortgage, make things simpler. I said no. He acted like I'd personally attacked him. Ever since, money and property, his favorite weapons. Now here we were again, except this time, the thing he was terrified of losing was tied to my name. I didn't call Mom back, texted instead. "You made it clear last night that my son and I aren't family." Handle your house and retirement with your lawyer. Then I blocked her number. Not forever, just long enough to hear my own thoughts. An hour later, my phone lit up. Different name. Marcus, my older brother. He almost never called unless our parents were in the room. I answered anyway. "What the hell happened last night?" he asked. "Mom's freaking out, Dad's pacing, talking about lawyers and ungrateful children." I told him what happened at the dessert table, what she said to Ethan. Long silence. "I saw him standing there," he finally said. "I told myself I was overreacting, that Mom was just stressed. I did what I always do. Let it go." Of course he did. Marcus spent his whole life smoothing things over, pretending their worst moments were no big deal. "I'm not asking you to fix them," I said. "I'm just done letting them use the word family as leverage. They want my name on their paperwork and trust and house, but they can't give my kid a slice of pie? If we're not family at the table, we're not family at the bank." Long pause. Then he said something I didn't expect. "Okay, tell me what you want me to do." That was the moment this stopped being about dessert and started being about their precious legacy. When I blocked Mom's number, I thought I might get a day of peace, but I forgot one thing. My parents love an audience. Few hours later, scrolling Facebook, there it was. Brand new post from Mom, top of my feed. Picture of their living room, Christmas tree glowing, table full of food. My sister with her kids in matching pajamas, everyone smiling. Caption: "Feeling so blessed for family this year. Nothing matters more." My stomach turned. I zoomed in, looking for myself, for Ethan, already knowing we weren't there. The angle made it obvious. Picture taken after we left. They'd literally framed us out of their narrative. Comments poured in. "Beautiful family. So blessed. Family is everything." Not one person knew what had happened an hour before that photo. I screenshot it, sent it to Marcus. "Apparently we've been edited out." He replied immediately. "I'm done pretending this is normal." 2 days later, registered letter from a lawyer. Not mine, theirs. "Dear Rachel, your parents have informed me you may be considering changes to your participation in the family trust and related property interests." Slid straight into paragraphs about tax penalties, complications, how sudden moves could jeopardize your parents' retirement. It would be in the best interest of the family if you refrained from hasty decisions. Your parents have always had your financial security at heart. Reading it, you'd think I was an ungrateful teenager, not someone who'd been paying her own bills and raising a kid alone for a decade. I forwarded it to an independent lawyer Marcus had found. Simple line: "Is this actually about taxes or just pressure?" While I waited, I stood in my kitchen, let the pattern play out in my head. My parents only learned the word boundaries in therapy after Dad's affair years ago. And even then, they used it like a weapon, not a practice. They loved the idea of legacy, a story where they'd sacrificed everything for their kids. But most of their sacrifices? Strings dressed up as gifts. When the new lawyer called back, he was blunt. "Some of what they said is technically true, but very incomplete. Any decent planner would have talked to you directly about options, not tried to scare you into silence through your parents' lawyer." He confirmed what Marcus had told me. My name on the deed for the Colorado Cabin LLC meant nothing significant could happen without my consent. Frankly, he said, if they're this desperate to keep you from asking questions, you should definitely be asking questions. Something inside me relaxed. I wasn't crazy, just inconvenient to people used to getting their way. With his help, I drafted my own email, not as scared daughter, as co-owner and beneficiary. I'm fully aware of my legal interest in the Colorado property and related entities. I do not consent to any sale, lease, refinance, or restructuring without my explicit written approval. I request full accounting of all transactions for the last 5 years sent directly to me. From this point forward, all communication goes through me or my counsel, not through my parents. Felt strange to see those words on screen, like impersonating someone powerful. But the truth? I'd always had that power, just been trained not to use it. I hit send. Went back to loading the dishwasher like any other Tuesday. Took less than an hour for Mom to find another way to reach me. Voicemail from the house phone. The one they still kept on the wall like it was 1995. Her voice sounding shrill, wet, like she'd been crying. Rachel, what are you doing? Your father is beside himself. The lawyer says you're making everything complicated. That cabin is our retirement. We put our whole lives into giving you kids something, and this is how you repay us? By freezing everything because your son had to hear no one time? My jaw clenched. She didn't say his name once. Didn't say, I'm sorry I humiliated your child. She said, your son had to hear no one time. Like she'd made him go to bed early, not told him he wasn't family in front of a room full of people. Then she said the part that really burned. He needs to learn respect, Rachel. You're too soft with him. This is why we have to be hard sometimes, so he doesn't turn out like you. I replayed that line twice, making sure I heard it right. In her mind, not turning out like me meant learning his place in their hierarchy, early. I sent the voicemail transcript to Marcus, no comment. He called a minute later, anger in his voice. She really said that? Turn this into a lesson about respect? She only panicked when she thought she might lose the cabin, I said. Not when she realized she'd hurt her grandson. Long exhale. I'm done going over there, he said finally. I can't keep pretending this is normal. They called me twice this morning to complain about you, not once to ask how Ethan is. Week later, just when I thought they were running out of ways to reach me, they did exactly what I should have expected. Social media. Facebook notification. Event invite from Mom. Title: Holiday Family Reconciliation Dinner. Little snowflake emojis everywhere. Description: After a hard year, we believe in forgiveness and second chances. Nothing matters more than family coming back together. Photo of their house lit up. Tree glowing in the window. Wreath on the door. Guest list was public. Neighbors, church friends, my sister, her kids, wine night couples, Marcus. One name missing. Mine. Comments already rolling in. So beautiful. You're such an inspiration. Love how your family sticks together. My phone buzzed. Screenshot from Marcus. You seeing this? Apparently, I'm invited to reconcile, just not tagged. They called me twice this morning, acting like they're the victims. Do you want to go? I stared at that question a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Let them perform their redemption arc without me. But another part, the part that watched them rewrite history for decades, knew exactly what would happen if I stayed home. They'd stand in front of that group, talk about their difficult daughter who turned her back. They'd cry about how hard they tried. And no one would hear the part where they told a 9-year-old he wasn't family. If we don't show up, they control the story, I typed. If we do, at least we get to tell the truth. Marcus sent back one word. Okay. Night of the dinner, I left Ethan with a trusted babysitter. No way I was walking him back into that house. I drove to my parents' place. The neighborhood looked like a catalog. Lights on houses, cars lining the street. Inside, the living room was full. Neighbors with wine glasses, church friends with plates. My sister near the tree in a new dress. Her kids running circles. Mom spotted me in the doorway. Real surprise crossed her face. Then she pasted on a bright smile, came toward me with arms open. "You made it," she said loudly, just enough for people to hear. "I knew you wouldn't stay mad forever." I didn't hug her back. Marcus appeared at my side like a buffer, tightness in his jaw. Dad clinked his fork against a glass, called for attention. "Thank you all for coming. We know this has been a challenging year. We're just so grateful to have family and friends under one roof." Mom dabbed at her eyes with a napkin, already playing her role. "Family means everything to us. Sometimes there are misunderstandings, but at the end of the day, blood is blood." I felt my shoulders tense. There it was, the magic word they loved to hide behind. Blood. Marcus shot me a quick look. Now or never. He stepped forward, raised his voice. "Funny, because last week you looked your 9-year-old grandson in the eye and told him, 'Only family gets to eat.'" The room went silent. So fast it was almost funny. Every head turned. Mom froze, hand halfway to her face. Dad's smile dropped. Marcus didn't back down, spoke calmly, like explaining a situation at work, not detonating a bomb. "Mom took the last slice of pie at Christmas, told Rachel's kid he wasn't family, let my sister's kids have seconds while he stood there. When Rachel walked out with her son, you called her 33 times, not to apologize, because the lawyer said you might lose the cabin if she didn't sign what you wanted." Someone near the sofa shifted, a neighbor couple. The woman's eyebrows shot up. Mom found her voice first, sharp. "Marcus, this isn't appropriate. We can talk about family matters in private." He laughed. No humor. Private is what got us here. You get to humiliate people in private, then show this house off like we're some perfect Christmas postcard. One of our neighbors spoke up, Mrs. Chen from across the street, quiet voice. "I was there that night. I heard what you told Ethan. That's not a misunderstanding. That's cruel." Mom's face went red, reached for the nearest excuse. "I was joking. You all know my sense of humor. Kids are too sensitive these days. I would never really mean that." She turned to me, tremble in her voice. "Tell them, Rachel. Tell them you know I didn't mean it." Every eye in the room landed on me. For a second, I felt 16-year-old me wanting to shrink, to smooth it over, say, "It's fine, Mom." But then I saw Ethan at that dessert table. Words came out different. "No, you meant it. You've been meaning it my entire life. You meant it when you skipped his birthday to go to the lake with my sister. You meant it when you told people he's not really like the other grandkids. All you did at Christmas was finally say it out loud." Dad slammed his glass down, too hard. We built all of this for you ungrateful children. This house, that cabin, the trust, everything. And this is how you repay us? Dragging our name through mud in front of our friends. I shook my head. No, you didn't build this for us. You built it for control. You only called when the lawyer said my name was in the way. You didn't call once to ask how Ethan was after you humiliated him. That's not love. That's leverage. Room so quiet, I could hear the heating system. Behind us, someone set their wine glass down, carefully, like afraid any noise would make things worse. Mom looked around, at the faces she'd hand-picked for this performance, realized maybe for the first time, she wasn't winning them over. Her eyes filled, but the crying came out sharp, almost angry. You're destroying our family, ruining our legacy, everything we worked for, all because your child had to hear no for once. I felt weirdly calm. You destroyed it yourself. The second you decided a 9-year-old was expendable to protect your pride and assets. We're just finally saying it where other people can hear. Nobody moved. Then Marcus put his hand on my shoulder. We're done here. We turned, walked to the door. Our parents stood rooted in the center of their perfect decorated room, with witnesses watching. Not with admiration, with doubt. By the time I got home, the neighborhood group chat was buzzing. Screenshots of Mom's reconciliation post, next to messages like, I didn't know they treated their grandson like that. That was hard to watch. My parents had finally gotten the audience they wanted, just not the script they expected. Few days after the disaster dinner, the house went quiet again. Strange, heavy pause. I used that silence to finish what I'd started with the lawyer. He sent me detailed summary of the trust, the LLC wrapped around the Colorado cabin. For the first time in my life, I saw my name on paper the way my parents saw it, not as inconvenience, as a key. Paperwork made it clear. Nothing could happen with that property without consent of every owner, which included me. With his guidance, I signed documents, formally separated my interest from anything my parents could control. My share of the cabin, any related income, locked to me, eventually to Ethan. Any refinance, sale, or loan required my explicit written approval. The lawyer was calm, matter of fact. You're protecting yourself and your child. That's not cruelty. That's common sense. 2 weeks later, knock on my door. Late afternoon. I opened it, expecting a package. Found my parents standing there instead. Mom held a tin of cookies, like a peace offering. Dad stood slightly behind her, hands in pockets. Neither of them looked angry. They looked tired. Can we come in? Mom asked, voice small. I didn't move from the doorway. What do you want? We want to talk, Dad said. About what happened. About fixing this. I felt that old pull, the one that said, let them in, hear them out. But then I heard Ethan's voice from inside, laughing at something on TV. You can talk from there, I said. Mom's face tightened. Rachel, we're your parents. We drove all this way. Can't we at least sit down? You made it very clear at Christmas who counts as family, I said. So no, say what you came to say. Dad shifted, uncomfortable. We know things got heated at the dinner. We think maybe everyone overreacted. Your mother was stressed. The holidays are hard. We just want to move past this. Notice what was missing? Apology, acknowledgement, his name. Move past what exactly? I asked. Mom jumped in. This whole situation with the lawyers and the property. We can work something out. We're family. We should be able to compromise. There it was. They didn't come to apologize for hurting Ethan. They came because I had power over something they wanted. You mean compromise on the cabin, I said, not on how you treated my son. We didn't treat him badly, Mom insisted. It was one comment at one party. Kids forget these things. He hasn't forgotten, I said, and neither have I. Dad's tone hardened. So that's it? You're going to hold one bad joke over our heads forever? Punish us by freezing our assets? I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm protecting my child. There's a difference. Mom's eyes filled with tears, but not the kind that come from remorse, the kind that come from not getting what you want. You're throwing away your inheritance over a misunderstanding, over a slice of pie. This is childish. I felt something go very still. This isn't about pie. This is about every time you chose control over kindness and called it love. Every time you dangled money over our heads and called it sacrifice. Christmas was just the first time you said the quiet part out loud in front of my child. Mom's tears shifted from sad to angry. You'll regret this when we're gone. One day you'll wish you hadn't poisoned your brother against us or taken our future away. Marcus is a grown man who finally opened his eyes, I said. I didn't take your future. I just stopped letting you finance it with my son's dignity. You keep talking about your legacy like it's something on paper. The only legacy I care about is the one Ethan carries, and I refuse to let him learn that love means accepting whatever people do to you as long as they share your DNA. Dad lifted the cookie tin, like a peace offering. Can we at least come inside? Talk to him? He's our grandson. My hand tightened on the edge of the door. He's my son, and until you can look him in the eye and apologize without excuses, you don't get access to him, or to my life, or to my signature. Right now, you're not safe for him, and that matters more than any house, any cabin, any trust. Mom's face crumpled at the word unsafe. But she still didn't say the one thing that might have mattered. I'm sorry for what I said to Ethan. She just kept circling back. How much they'd given, how hard they'd worked, how unfair it was we were cutting them off. The conversation hit the same wall it always hit, where they'd rather feel wronged than be accountable. I took a breath. I'm not doing this anymore. You don't get to hurt my child and hide behind the word legacy. You're not my legacy. You're my lesson. And I'm done repeating it. Before they could answer, I stepped back, closed the door. I stood there, hand on the knob, listening to muffled sound of Mom crying, Dad muttering about ungrateful kids. Eventually, footsteps faded. Car door slammed, engine started. Inside my house, quiet. No ringing phone, no pounding, just Ethan in his room humming to himself, building something out of Legos. Completely unaware that the people who'd taken dessert away were finally learning what it felt like to be left with nothing they could control. In the weeks after, nothing dramatic happened, and that was the strangest part. No more voicemails about lawyers, no Facebook essays about forgiveness, no guilt texts, just quiet. For the first time in my life, my phone could sit on the counter all day without turning into a grenade. At first, the silence felt wrong, like I should be doing something, reaching out, fixing it, playing the role I'd always played. But every time that instinct kicked in, I pictured Ethan at that dessert table, and it snapped me right back. Few days after the door scene, Marcus came over with pizza, cheap Christmas movies on streaming. He walked in like he'd been holding his breath for years, finally allowed to exhale. Ethan lit up when he saw him, dragged him to the living room to show off his latest Lego creation. He'd decided it was the Colorado cabin, except in his version, there was a huge sign on top. "No mean people allowed." Marcus laughed so hard he had to wipe his eyes. I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd seen my brother laugh without glancing over his shoulder to see who was watching. We ate on the couch, sauce on paper plates, soda cans sweating on the coffee table. No crystal glasses, no fancy napkins, nobody grading our performance. At one point, a character gave a speech about how family is everything. Ethan turned to me. "Does that mean you have to stay even when they're mean?" I muted the TV, told him the truth, the kind nobody told me at his age. "No, family is supposed to be people who make you feel safe and loved, not people who tell you your place. Sometimes those are the same people you share DNA with. Sometimes they're not. Real family is who shows up when it counts, who listens, who apologizes when they're wrong. Blood alone doesn't earn them a permanent pass to hurt you." He thought about that, then nodded, like I'd just handed him a rule book that actually made sense. Later that night, after Marcus left and Ethan was asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with tea, thought about everything my parents used to say when they said legacy. They meant houses, cabins, accounts. A story where they were heroes who sacrificed for ungrateful children. Funny thing is, the minute their money stopped moving the way they wanted, their version of love vanished with it. They'd spent years telling me walking away would make me selfish and cold. Instead, what I found on the other side of that door? Warmth. Just not the kind that comes from a big, crowded house and a perfect tree. It was the warmth of being able to look at my kid and know I'd finally chosen him, and myself, over their approval. I heard through the grapevine their social calendar got lighter after that dinner. A couple of their closest friends still came around, the ones who believed their version. But a lot of people quietly stopped showing up. The cabin sat mostly empty that winter, not because they couldn't go, but because it was no longer a stage where they could parade the grandkids they thought counted. They still had their house, their things, their carefully arranged photos. But the audience they'd built their identity around? Smaller. And for the first time in their lives, they had to sit in the quiet and look at what they'd actually raised. I don't know if they ever will. Maybe someday they'll figure out how to say, "I'm sorry," without adding "but" right after. Maybe they won't. That part's not my responsibility anymore. What is my responsibility? The little boy sleeping down the hall, and the lesson he learns from this. I want him to grow up knowing love without respect isn't love. That you're allowed to walk away from people who hurt you, even if the world tells you family is everything. That protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's survival. I didn't burn my family to the ground. I just stopped standing in the fire and calling it home.